I am continuing my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a bit as I move along. So, in our last few videos, we've been reading about the alliance between Ahab of Israel and Jehoshaphat of Judah. They are banded together to go against Syria to reclaim the eastern territories of Israel, particularly the city or territory of Ramoth-Gilead. Ahab called all his false prophets who told him, yes, God is going to bless you, you're going to win. But Jehoshaphat said, let's get a true prophet in here, and so Micaiah is coming. And we pick this up in chapter 22 of 1 Kings. This will be verse 15. Micaiah is coming to talk to Ahab. Here we go. So he came to the king, and the king said unto him, Micaiah, shall we go against Ramoth-Gilead to battle, or shall we forbear? And he answered him, Go and prosper, for the Lord shall deliver it into the hand of the king. And the king said unto him, How many times shall I adjure thee that thou tell me nothing but that which is true in the name of the Lord? And he said, before we continue, I like this. Micaiah comes, and he tells Ahab exactly what Ahab wants to hear. Yes, go, prosper, you'll win. But Ahab pushes him. Says, oh, you never say anything good about me, so spit it out. What is it? And you got to remember, Ahab actually does trust the prophets. That's why he doesn't like to go to Micaiah, because he doesn't want to hear the bad news. He knows that whatever Micaiah tells him is going to happen. That's why he doesn't want to go to Micaiah, not because he doesn't believe Micaiah. It's because he does believe Micaiah that he doesn't want to go to him. In every interaction he's had with true prophets, he has shown that he knows the truth. He knows that these are real prophets. He knows that God is the true God. And he knows that whatever these prophets say is going to happen. And that's why he hates them. But he right here tells, look, I know there's more. Let me have it. So anyways, verse 17. And he said, this is Micaiah speaking, and he said, I saw all Israel scattered upon the hills as sheep that have not a shepherd. And the Lord said, These have no master. Let them return every man to his house in peace. And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, Did I not tell thee that he would prophesy no good concerning me but evil? And he said, Hear thou therefore the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. Let us pause there again. I like this. He states, he saw Israel as a scattered flock without a shepherd. In other words, he saw Israel without her king. That was a prophecy of Ahab's death. That's why Ahab returns and says, I told you you'd never say anything good about me. Because he just told Ahab that Ahab's going to die. Now, we will skip back here to verse 19. This is the rest of what Micaiah says to him. And he said, Hear thou therefore the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing by him, on his right hand and on his left. And the Lord said, Who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth-Gilead? And one said on this manner, and another said on that manner. And there came forth a spirit, and stood before the Lord, and said, I will persuade him. And the Lord said unto him, Wherewith? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, Thou shalt persuade him and prevail also. Go forth and do so. Now therefore, behold, the Lord hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these thy prophets, and the Lord hath spoken evil concerning thee. So, in other words, Micaiah is giving this little parable of sorts. First, God doesn't make anybody lie. So the idea that he put a lying spirit in the prophets, that doesn't come from God. This is a parable. This isn't a declaration of truth. I mean, it's not literally true. It's just teaching, you know what I mean. But he's basically calling all these 400 prophets all liars. That's what he's saying. So here we go. Now Zedekiah, remember, he was the one that had the iron horns to demonstrate Ahab's victory. Now we have this, verse 24. But Zedekiah, the son of Kenanah, went near and smote Micaiah on the cheek and said, Which way went the Spirit of the Lord from me to speak unto thee? And Micaiah said, Behold, thou shalt see in that day when thou shalt go into an inner chamber to hide thyself. And the king of Israel said, Take Micaiah, and carry him back unto Ammon, the governor of the city, and to Joash, the king's son. And say, Thus saith the king, Put this fellow in the prison, and feed him with bread of affliction, and with water of affliction, until I come in peace. And Micaiah said, If thou return at all in peace, the Lord hath not spoken by me. And he said, Hearken, O people, every one of you. So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, went up to Ramoth-Gilead. So, I like this. Zedekiah comes and he smacks him and says, Where's this spirit? Where's this lying spirit? And Micaiah says, well, he pronounces a prophecy against Zedekiah that he will flee. When all this takes place, Zedekiah will flee into hiding. And then the king has Micaiah arrested and thrown in prison and says, Keep him in prison until I come back. And Micaiah is saying, You're not coming back. And then, of course, Ahab and Jehoshaphat take their armies out. So here we go. Verse 30. And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, I will disguise myself and enter into the battle, but put thou on thy robes. And the king of Israel disguised himself and went into the battle. But the king of Syria commanded his 32 captains that had rule over his chariot, saying, Fight neither with small nor great, save only with the king of Israel. And it came to pass, when the captains of the chariots saw Jehoshaphat, that they said, Surely it is the king of Israel. And they turned aside to fight against him, and Jehoshaphat cried out. And it came to pass, when the captains of the chariots perceived that it was not the king of Israel, that they turned back from pursuing him. And a certain man drew a bow at a venture, and smote the king of Israel between the joints of the harness. Wherefore he said unto the driver of his chariot, Turn thine hand, and carry me out of the host, for I am wounded. And the battle increased that day, and the king was stayed up in his chariot against the Syrians, and died at even, and the blood ran out of the wound into the midst of the chariot. And there went a proclamation throughout the host about the going down of the sun, saying, Every man to his city, and every man to his country. So fulfillment of what Micaiah had said. He said that they would be scattered without a leader, without a king, or without a shepherd, and would be told simply to go back home. This is exactly what happens. Ahab is killed, and when they learn that Ahab is killed, the army is told to go home. Now, I do think Ahab clearly knew, he clearly believed that what Micaiah said was true, and so he disguises himself, hoping that the Israelites won't know it's him and won't try to kill him. No, not the Israelites, the Syrians. But the king of Syria, he gives them the order, look, if somebody's coming to attack you and the king of Israel's not there, leave, don't fight him. Now, they do chase Jehoshaphat at first, thinking that he is the king of Israel. When they find out it's not, they leave. But a stray arrow, basically. So a stray arrow from the men of Syria is shot and hits Ahab. And it doesn't pierce his armor, it goes into the joint of the armor. This is just a random freak shot, but it pierces him and kills him, just like Micaiah said. The guy wasn't aiming for him. The guy didn't know who he was. He just let an arrow fly, and this is where it happened to land. Anyways, let us finish this out. We're only going to read the next 4 verses to verse 40. So this is verse 37. So the king died and was brought to Samaria, and they buried the king in Samaria. And one washed the chariot in the pool of Samaria, and the dogs licked up his blood. And they washed his armor, according unto the word of the Lord which he spake. Now the rest of the acts of Ahab, and all that he did, and the ivory house which he made, and all the cities that he built, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? So Ahab slept with his fathers, and Ahaziah his son reigned in his stead. So this is the death of Ahab. And I will say, the washed out his chariot, and the dogs licked up the blood. That is the fulfillment of Elijah's prophecy, that just as the dogs licked the blood of Naboth, they would lick the blood of Ahab. Because remember, when he's shot, and he tells his charioteer, I'm shot, you gotta help me stay in the chariot. So they prop him up in the chariot, and basically he bled out. The injury he got was not severe enough to kill him outright. But by the time they got him out of the battle, he had bled to death. And so when they got the chariot back to the city and buried the king, they had to wash the chariot out. And if you bleed to death, if you bleed out, that's a lot of blood, and they wash it out and the dogs lick it up. So prophecy of Elijah is fulfilled. Now, my next video, I will pick this up in Chronicles 2 Chronicles chapter 18 again, and we will read a secondary account of the death of Ahab again. So I will see you there.